Okay, in this example, we are going to be examining the make or buy decision. This type of problem can be used to examine whether you should make or buy a part or process, or whether you should insource it or outsource it. So we are going to be looking at an example. This example is given to you in your book at the end of chapter 4. Under your solved problems, we're going to be looking at Jack Smith and Jack's auto sales. And we're going to set this worksheet up from beginning to end. So you are given the same worksheets in your template, but I wanted to go ahead and set it up from scratch in this example so you can see how we do each one of the formulas. So we're going to start out putting in our headings here. So in this problem, Jack Smith is deciding whether or not his company wants to process loans internally, or whether they want to outsource that process to loans, etc. If Jack processes the auto loans internally, he faces an annual fixed cost of $2,500, so on and so forth. So we are going to just title this insourcing or outsourcing. Okay. And then we need to have a column here for our fixed cost. And our variable cost, because that's what we're going to be reading here next. Okay, so just widening those columns a little bit. So it starts to give us some data here. It says if Jack processes the auto loan applications internally, he faces an annual fixed cost of $2,500. So if he insources or does it himself, he's going to have a fixed cost of $2,500. And it says allowing him access to the top-notch credit, and he faces an annual fixed cost of $2,500 for membership fees, allowing him access to the top-notch credit company, and a variable cost of $2,500 each time he processes a loan application. So each time he processes a loan application, it's going to cost him $25 a piece. Okay, then it says if he goes with loans, etc., they'll be able to process the loans for $1,000 of fixed costs, but each loan is going to cost him $35 per loan. Okay, Jack estimates that processing 125 loans per year. What do you think Jack should do? So let's put our quantity over here. And what we want to find out is what our total costs are going to be under each scenario. So if our quantity is going to be 125 for each one, then our total costs are going to be our variable costs plus our total fixed costs. So we're going to be doing an equal sign here and clicking on our fixed cost and adding in the variable cost times the amount that we are processing. Okay, and then once you get this formula in here, you can click on your fill handle and just pull it down. All right, so it's going to be costing him more to insource than to outsource. So he's going to want to choose to outsource rather than insource. Okay, so then the second question that it asks is, it says, is Jack indifferent to internal processing and outsourcing at one level of loan applications? So the next thing we want to calculate is what we call the indifference point. That point at which it doesn't matter to Jack whether he insources or outsources, it costs him the same. Okay, so this is also kind of the break-even point. All right, so what we want to do is calculate the indifference point. And this indifference point is, the formula is given to you in your book as well. but I'm going to give it to you quite simply here. And it is equal, the quantity of that indifference point is equal to your fixed cost to make minus your fixed cost to buy or in-source divided by your variable cost to buy minus your variable cost to make. Okay, so that's the formula that we're going to be using right here. So this is going to be equal to parentheses our fixed cost to make or in-source minus our fixed cost to buy or outsource, and then we're going to divide by our variable cost to buy or outsource minus our variable cost to make or in-source. And we'll see that our indifference point in this example is at 150. So at 150 loan applications, it does not make a difference whether or not he, at that specific point, it doesn't matter whether he is insourcing or outsourcing, it's going to cost him the same. Now, if he goes to 151, then you'll see that it switches over and it's no longer cost effective for him to outsource. At that point, he should then insource. So that is the point where the two lines cross each other. And he would then want to start insourcing because it's then going to be too costly to outsource. Okay, so that is the make and buy decision. Now, if you were asked to do this graphically, then you would want to plot your lines similar to what we did in the last chapter. And you would need to know your total costs to buy or to insource. And you would need your total costs to outsource. And then you would need some quantities put down along this line here, over here. So let's say we started out with 0 and went up by tens. Let's see, tens isn't going to be enough. So let's do 25. Yeah, that gets us there faster. Okay. And we're going to put in our formula here. So our total cost here to insource, again, we're going to do the same formula that we did up here. We're just going to finagle it a little bit so we can copy down. So our total formula is going to be, again, our fixed cost. And then we're going to add to that our variable cost, but this time instead of taking this quantity here, we're going to multiply it by our quantity over here. Okay, now I said that we were going to finagle this a little bit. When we copy down, we do not want this formula to move off of these two numbers. We want it to stay in these two positions. So in order to do that, if you remember our previous conversation about this, we have to use an F4 here and an F4 here. So we're going to just click your F4 on your keyboard and it will put dollar signs in front of both of those references, making that an absolute reference. And then you can just click your check mark or hit enter, and you should be able to then copy that formula using your fill handle all the way down. Now if you're having trouble getting a hold of that fill handle, you need to make sure it's a black X when you mouse over the little square. Yeah, wait until it's a black X and then hold your left mouse key down and pull down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here to your outsourcing. We're going to do the same thing, equals here, and this time it is $1,000 plus, and our $35 times our quantity. Do the same thing here. We're going to do our B3 F4 and our C3 F4. And we're going to pull down. Okay, now we can do a check here at our 150. You can see our costs are the same at 150. So at that point, it does not make a difference which one we choose. Okay, so now if we want to take these and plot them on a graph to get our two lines, we would just choose this blank space all the way down through the end and go to Insert, and we want a line chart, and you can choose any one of these, and you can see here the two lines cross at that indifference point. Okay, and that's that. All right, so that was make or buy.